Should we start? Can you hear me? On Zoom?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Jürgen. Good to hear you. Okay, so we are here to talk a little bit about what we have set up at Auslandia with the GitLab and GitLab CI in order to compile things for OSGeo for Windows. So maybe I can start by presenting what we have so far, and you could ask questions any time you want, of course. Maybe a bit about of context, said Regis. Yes, so basically there are two things. We observed so far that the effort made by OSGeo for Windows members, and especially Jürgen for the QGIS part, are huge efforts, and this is we observe this as mostly a risk in the sense that we all rely on very few people to maintain a system of packaging. It is something very important to have a nice and working packaging system, because you could have the best software in the world. If it is not packaged, then no one can use it. So that always have been a desire to help, for instance, lower a little bit the load on the main OSGeo4W download site, because we observed that it was sometimes a bit hard to respond in time. And then there is a second need where we sometimes have demands from our customers, where we need to develop new features or fix bugs in QGIS, for instance. And we want them to be able to test the new feature we are developing before they get into the master, because sometimes it's more a matter of discussing with the client of what he has in mind and what is best before proposing it to the community. And for some other, quite more often, but sometimes we have some very specific needs for something very specific or a bit private or closed for some customers and projects. So we needed a way to build easily packages, to compile things and to build packages and installation setup for Windows users. And rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, of course, we found that it would be better to base our work on the existing infrastructure of OSGeo for Windows. But at the same time, the existing architecture of OSGeo4W is nice, but we found that it lacks a bit of, let's say, reproducibility. I mean, it's not always well documented, and it's very hard to reproduce. Actually, it's very hard to get the source of a component or a package and make your own compilation at home, because I think most of the packages depend on different environments that are either at Jürgen's computers or maybe computers from people from GRAS and so on. So we try to think about that, and we would like to propose a thing that we have been working on to try to enhance a little bit this situation. And the idea is to have something that is as much reproducible as possible. And so the idea is that maybe it can we can share the effort of packaging, which is a huge effort, and make it more open, make it more sustainable. So that was a bit of a context. So the first thing, that's a really simple thing that we have to propose, is just a new mirror for the OSGeoW Yeah, I'm trying to share my screen. Yes, I don't know if it's visible. Yeah, I think it's visible now. So let's zoom a little bit. Well, it's basically just a URL here, which is osgeo4w-oslandia.com/mirror. And that's basically a mirror of the packages you can find in OSGeo4W. Well, only the 64 bits version for now. So it's synchronized once in a while, I mean, frequently based on the main OSGeo4W repository. So then it's, once you know that, it's easy to use in a regular OSGeo4W setup. You just have in the setup to set the new address. So maybe at some point we could try to propose this new address and maybe other addresses if there are other people interested in providing a new mirror. So you can, here I can just, I've added this new address here, osgeo4w-oslandia, and I have access to all the packages existing. So this is one goal that we try to achieve, is to lower a little bit the big load we have on the main OSGeo4W sites. And then the second thing is that on this same server there is another address, let's say, or another variant of this repository, which we called extra. And it's OSGeo4W plus some additional packages that we have had to do. Oh, my internet connection is not so very good. I don't know. And amongst these new packages, we have packages for our own project. Sorry, it's still not there. Yeah, for instance, I've been working on a project called Tempus. So I've made different packages for that. That's an open source project that you can use. We have packages for PG routing, PostgreSQL, PostGIS, and so on. So now it's on our custom server, but once we know that we have that, the idea is to try to integrate this somehow into OSGeo4W and maybe try to improve it a little bit. So the second part of what we've done is this nice continuous integration architecture based on GitLab. So let me show you a little bit what we have so far. So on the gitlab.com Oslandia group, we have a project named OSGeo4W, where we have so a set of scripts that will that are used to compile and package the different components. It is based on what have already been done on OSGeo4W. So it's basically just a big, or sometimes it's very small, but it's a shell script, a Windows shell script. So basically a batch file where you put the different directives to compile things using Microsoft Visual Studio. This and a file that describes a little bit the package itself called setup.hint, which is the name of the package, its version, and the different dependencies that this package has. And then based on that, you can, there are some scripts, once again, compiled or inspired by what we have already on OSGeo for Windows, that are used to organize, to generate this index of packages. And so what is interesting here is that this GitLab project has a CI configured. So it works with .gitlab-ci.yaml file. This one is very simple because actually it's just a way to pass through the execution of this target, which is named package, to one of the different subdirectories. So basically the idea of this repository is that you can trigger a compilation of one of the different subdirectory based on that. So let's try a demo. Let's say I want to rebuild one package. So I have a small script called trigger build. And I can say, okay, I want to recompile, let's say, the PostgreSQL package in the test version for now. Okay, it says that there is already something existing. Okay, let me force it just to show you. So it will call the GitLab API, and then it opens something, the pipeline part of the GitLab CI, where you can show the compilation that is going on. So the compilation is based on VirtualBox machines that run on one of our servers. And so the GitLab CI is connected to these machines, and it will wake up the machines when a new compilation is needed. And then it will launch the script, the batch script on this virtual machine. Then it will compile things using Visual Studio. And then you get some outputs. It will generate, well, actually, I think it will take a bit of time to compile PostgreSQL, but anyway. Then it generates a tar.bz2 package, and then it push it on our main FTP server, and then you can use it in the standard OSGeo for Windows setup. So for instance, because I have already done the exercise here, if I'm looking for PostgreSQL, I have it in the list of packages that can be installed. Well, there's lots of output here. But yeah, it's not very interesting to see a compilation, but just to this is just to show you how it works a little bit. So here I have some a remote desktop connection to the different virtual machines. This one is a test virtual machine just to test the installation. And if you see, you can see here in the list our different machines that are running on our one of our servers. And we have 3 instances here which are dedicated to compilation. So it's just a matter of GitLab spawning a new VirtualBox clone and running things on it. So this is the current situation, and yeah, so the idea was to share that with everyone interested. And we would like maybe at some point to see if people from the OSGeo4W project are interested by this, and how we can work together so that we can improve the way OSGeo for Windows packages are built. So I don't know, maybe if you have questions, remarks so far. Or...
No, not yet. Looks fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, for me, it's important that you find it fine because. it's yeah. So yeah, in my opinion, it would be nice to have something like this that will work for the whole OSGeo for Windows project, so that we can have something, as I already said, more open, more reproducible, and so on. So I hope people from QGIS, GRAS, and so on will try this. Yes, something that I forgot to mention is for now, this is working on one of our internal server. So we have some kind of limited resources to offer, but that's a start. And the plan is to give access little by little to, let's say, Jürgen, and then maybe someone from the GRAS project, and little by little see if all of this work correctly. And then we have another project where a customer required a compilation of an old version of QGIS on Windows. So we rent a server for that, and we plan to reuse this server and dedicate it to the compilation of OSGeo4W. So in the coming months, we should be able to propose this server to the community.
So I think that it's very interesting, this project. Question is about the virtual machines that you are using to build QGIS and the other packages and on Windows. And so the question is there a recipe to reproduce and this kind of machine, or maybe a Vagrant script that would be Dream, of course, or something that could be used to automatically create these virtual machines?
Yeah, thank you for the question. That's a very good question. Actually, that was part of the plan to publish a recipe to reproduce as easily as possible a build environment so that anyone can use it or reproduce it. It's in progress. So we are going to use apparently Ansible that will target a Windows machine. So you still have to do some manual steps like enabling the WinRM protocol so that Ansible is able to communicate with Windows, and disable some nasty things like antivirus and maybe updates, things that you cannot do quite easily automatically. But we try to reduce the amount of manual work, and then once you have your fresh Windows box, the idea is to have a script that you can launch, and you can provision the new virtual machine, and it should be compliant with the scripts that are here. And it should come in the next weeks, I would say. Okay, no other question in the room? Yeah, sure.
So, to be honest, not to promote Mac OS X, but there is this project, isn't it? Or there was the project Mac for OSGeo or OSGeo for Mac or so. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I think, of course, they looked at OSGeo4W, and I was thinking if we could use this mechanism to build Mac packages, especially because packaging for Mac at the moment is, I think, still problematic.
Yeah, I think that's one of the interests of GitLab CI, because there is a special executor in the terms of GitLab CI, which is VirtualBox, so it is able to speak to VirtualBox instances. And I think in theory, you can have whatever you have on your VirtualBox that is able to receive.
Is that allowed? I thought you were only allowed to run OS X on Mac machines. Am I muted? No. Can you hear me? No? Can somebody hear me?
Yes, Jeff, I can hear you. Sorry, Jürgen, I can hear you.
Okay.
Can't hear anybody else.
Me neither. Okay.
You cannot hear. Okay. Okay. So I'm not sure what you missed, guys, but okay, yeah, we were talking about the extra package.
We were talking about OS X back then.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So you missed a little bit of the part of the discussion, but yeah, we were talking about OS 6, and Alessandro seems to say that it's legal as long as you have a physical Apple machine. So we can have a try maybe.
Okay.
This is Vincent. I just wanted to again thank Hugo and Paul and Vincent Moore as well for this work, because this is very painful to do, and dealing with Windows compilation, ABI compatibility, Microsoft Visual C++ compiler, all that kind of thing you don't want to hear about in your life globally. That's what they're tackling days after days, and so this is very important for the project, we think, and this is not a very fun thing to do, so I wanted to thank them again.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else? No. Jürgen, did you want to say something?
To what? I missed the whole conversation, I think.
Okay. No, I'm not about the details, but what do you think? Do you think it could you could find? I mean, there are still lots of work if we want to have one repository for the whole OSGeo for Windows. Do you think it's worth it? Do you agree with what we propose?
Yeah, it's a lot of work to get where we already are, what the packages mean, and the dependencies. And we also have some shortcuts where we have repackaged binaries that would work here too, but you don't have to compile anything, so that could just be a static package. There is this thing with the SDKs where you cannot share the SDKs. Then code signing might be a point where you would have to put the certificates somewhere, and you probably don't want to do that publicly either. What else? But that's about it. I would like a Cygwin there, but I never did something with WSL, so maybe that's better, but I don't have experience with that. I do my stuff with Cygwin, and I'm fine with that most of the time.
Okay. Yeah, there are some issues that we discussed with Jürgen about. I don't know if everyone understand, but the thing about we have some SDKs that are not open source, so to say, like the ECW driver for GDAL, or actually the Oracle provider for QGIS. So you cannot really distribute that. You can distribute the binary, but you cannot distribute the SDKs. So
I think for Oracle that it's not a problem, but for ECW it is. And
okay.
I'm not sure about the file GDB stuff from Esri and those kind of things. But I think
Yeah, but
Oracle
in any way, yeah. In any way, it means that there are some packages that have where the compilation components cannot be shared. So it means we should find a way to have some private compilation machine or something like that. And about this code signature that you mentioned, I wasn't aware of that. So yeah, if you want to have certificate for Windows, what does it involve?
What does it involve? There is we have a certificate to sign stuff, but we don't want to put it out there so everyone can
Okay.
sign the stuff. Just some authorization that makes it clear that's from us and not from everyone. Then the point of signing is a bit voided if everyone can sign. For instance, we have signed the OSGeo4W installer, and we signed standalone installers.
So we'll have to find a way, okay.
Yes.
Oh, other than packages, okay. Other than packaging, I think that really important that to have it reproducible, create a mirror in sense of a low automatic test of Windows on some locally instead of waiting for Travis or something else for a lot of times. And so this could open in the future probably a question: how can we add the mirror? How can we can certify a mirror that is they produce exactly the same stuff? Because to accept a mirror that distribute a package that could have problem, how can we distinguish that the mirror well done from a mirror that is with some errors? I don't know. No idea how.
Yeah, that's a good question, but maybe it's a bit early to to ask it, because actually there is no real mirror that people use. We are just being proposed this one, so let's see if we have plenty of mirrors.
I suppose yes, because a lot of is open. I suppose that will be a lot of mirror, a lot of duplication on this, because people need to test locally instead to wait for. So I suppose there will be some set of mirror in a while, because it's really great contribution for stability. Okay, it's too early. I agree.
Just I'm not in the technique, but can we summarize the conclusion here? We have a green light between Hugo and Jeff to say it's a good direction to go, apparently. First conclusion. Second one is having a mirror, hard-coded mirror in OSGeo for Windows is a target to reach have more security somewhere? And then what's the next part of the plan?
From our side, the next plan is to have this recipe of reproducing a new Windows environment made public. And the next step is to open little by little this compilation infrastructure, so that other developers can test it. Of course, I think about Jürgen and maybe some developers from other OSGeo for Windows packages. I think about Grass, but maybe some other, if they have some time to invest in it. And then discuss of what is missing, what should be improved and so on. And then my hope is that we then try to move in the way where we target a unified OSGeo for Windows repository based on that mechanism. That would be very nice, I think.
Yes.
So my concern now is how do we fund that work in the long term? I mean, Jürgen has been doing a lot of work, volunteering work on that. Should we trigger another discussion about the QGIS.org budget or the OSGeo budget to go further and make it run in the long term?
Yes, that's a good question. So maybe Vincent may correct me, but I think one of our contribution would be to make some servers available for at least for QGIS and for extension for the OSGeo4W project, because it's quite easy to contribute. But you're right that we should have maintainers of this system. There are already people working on that. We hope that with a new, more open and more reproducible system, that will maybe find new people that could be involved in that. But you're right, on the long term, we should find a sustainable way to fund this kind of work. Yes, and I don't have any clue, but ideally that's the work of OSGeo, I would say, because it's OSGeo for Windows after all. But I don't know. Maybe do you have any clues?
Yeah, it's easy to agree, but we miss the main actor here. Actually, in the past, I've been soliciting OSGeo to take care of this, because I mean, everything stands on our shoulder, and I didn't think this was fair, but I met with more or less a rubber wall. So I'm not very confident that this has changed, but I think it's what we should do. I mean, it's not a piece of infrastructure we can afford having offline for any reason. So I mean, we have to have we have to have a plan for the long term. I mean, we cannot just help Jürgen to get more free just to get you more trouble. So that's really critical.
Okay, should we close? Okay, thank you. Thanks to everyone. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Jürgen, you still there?
Yeah.
Well, the obvious question is, any idea when the Windows package will be around? Yeah, the 3, of course. Yeah. I think that's something.
Not yet. It's just compiling.
Okay, so it could be anytime soon. Or not.
I don't know. The Debian packages will take I don't know, 24 hours or something. We have a huge load of those, and therefore I don't put out any binaries before all binaries are there.
Okay. Okay. If everything goes well, a couple of days is reasonable.
Over the weekend, I think.
Okay.
Maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday, maybe Monday, probably tomorrow, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Thanks a lot.
okay.
Thank you.